All right, so everybody, where's Kevin? We're gonna tag team this together. Um, so did you guys get the email from KWI? Did anyone not get that email? The KWI email. Okay, so I'm gonna go through that with you, okay, and just bring some clarity to it. So there's been two settlements, right? One was with National Association of Realtors, and one was with KWI itself. So we almost have like two layers of insulation on this thing, and two layers of protection. So I think it's important to go kind of big picture as to like how did this happen, right? If we go and we look at our forms, it's very clear how compensation works on our listing agreement and on our exclusive buyer's agency agreement. Does anyone not agree with that? Right? I mean, you're literally initialing next to it, right? Sub agent, buyer's agent, transaction coordinator, and on our exclusive. So this was not filed in the state of Michigan for a reason. This was filed in the state of Missouri where the contracts weren't quite as clear. I was actually talking with a local broker this morning, and he told me in some states even there's compensation was never even on any of the documents, and the listing broker would just, it wasn't even on the settlement statement. They would just mail a check. And I'm like, no wonder this got us into this situation, right? So the goal was to disconnect advertising of commissions on the MLS, which, mind you, this still has to go through DOJ approval at this point, right? So if we take a time machine, there was a different lawsuit, and the DOJ came in and started with that. And this was under the previous administration. And they said it got settled. And then with the new administration, they came in and said that's not good enough. And they pulled it out of settlement. And they said we need more increased transparency. Me personally, I don't see how this brings additional transparency, right? So I don't know how they're meeting that DOJ standard of additional transparency. So it'll be interesting to see if this does get approved. That's just me talking off the cuff. And in a lot of ways, I'm the Chinese farmer. Does anyone know the story of the Chinese farmer? Right. Long story short, good, bad. The answer is always maybe, and let time play out to see how it works. Right. Okay, so let's hit this. Yeah. Long story short, it's maybe, and we'll see what happens. Right. Yeah. Maybe it's good. Maybe it's bad. Right. And if you know the Chinese farmer, son falls off the horse, breaks his leg. Everyone's like, oh, that's terrible. Then the conscription officer came around. Son didn't get conscripted because he had a broken leg, right? So what was terrible ended up being great for them, right? So that's just the story. All right, so let's hit point number one here. Buyer's representation agreements required. I mean, I can speak for a lot of the teams in this room, and I know from a brokerage compliance, we've always required exclusive buyer's agency. So what's changed at this point is before you show a house, you need to get exclusive buyer's agency. What I don't know is, as a brokerage, how do we audit that? That I don't know. That's a mystery, right? How do I know, Steve, that you showed that house and you didn't have exclusive buyer's agency? I don't know how to audit that yet. So that'll be interesting to figure out. Realize with exclusive buyer's agency agreements, you can make it exclusive to that house, right? My recommendation is, and teams and high producers know this, is to meet people at a coffee shop, meet people at the office, CITO, right? Come into office, and take them through an entire buyer's presentation. And I do understand that some people are like, just show me the house, guy, right? Punch in the little numbers there and get the key, right? And you build rapport through that showing and then bring them in for a consultation, right? But we do need to get exclusive buyers agency signed before showing a house. That's the new rules, okay? Before, we always required it as a part of closing disclosures. Now we need to move that up in the process. Best practice has always been that, maybe not before showing, but definitely, before offer. You need to disclose what the rate of compensation you'll receive. I mean, I can't speak for everybody in this room, but as the Delia Group, we've always put 3%, right? Does anyone know how that would, or does anyone have any questions on if someone's offering 2.5 or 2 and you have 3? Do you understand different ways that you can get the difference? What are some of those ways?
You could ask for concessions from the seller to cover that difference.
Yep.
You could also ask the buyer to pay for it, and then have the offer reflecting what the difference is.
Yeah, and I think we're going to include a form that we're going to make as a part of compliance that we still got to figure out this piece, but my anticipation is that there is a notice of commission. What do we call that form? What's your hand up? Notice of buyer agency, where when we make the offer, we're including as a part of the offer the commission that we're expecting, right? And just put that as a part of it, which is funny because we just got done going through a different situation where the state said we didn't want that, and now we do want that. So all things are going to change. What I would encourage everybody is don't get stuck in what it was. Just be prepared for what it's going to be and be ready for the future. The people who adapt to the change the fastest are the ones who will take the most amount of market share. Okay, so the amount must be set. So you can't have it open-ended, like buyer broker will be whatever the seller offers the buyer, right? That's not what it's going to be, or the buyer's agent. And I want everyone to realize that their language needs to be correct. The seller has never paid the buyer's agency commission in the state of Michigan. Well, I don't know about never, but in the decade I've been in this business, this hasn't been true, right? Who pays for, Kevin, who pays the buyer side commission?
The seller.
Yeah, so the seller pays the listing agent and the listing agent pays the buyer's agent, right? That's always the way it's gone in our state, right? So it's important that we all know and understand that, so we're articulating it in the correct way. This is interesting. You can't receive more. So if you go to, let's say you put the 3% on your, who's seen 3.5 offered on the buy side historically, right? We know that back from when the buyers had the upper hand, those days back in 11, 12, 13, 14.
Cars for free with the house.
You just put a separate PA for that, $0, right? Yeah.
We're going to get a 2-year lease with a house. You buy this house.
I've only seen free tacos. That's pretty impressive. But what'll be interesting about this is, yeah. So what'll be interesting about this is, builders have typically offered bonuses and those sort of things, or we're gonna have to figure out that aspect. One of the things I think we can do, and we'll have to figure out, is there is the opportunity, because you can't say commissions are negotiable and then not be negotiable. So potentially you could update your exclusive, right, at some point if you have a different setup. So maybe you can update it to be more, update it to be less. We'll have to figure out that piece. And this is the one that's most interesting. So agents offer cooperative compensation cannot be made on the MLS. Well, commercials always kind of operated this way, right? Commercials never had an MLS that's displayed commissions externally. So we're just going to operate like commercials. Who was in business in the 90s? You don't have to raise your hand, but right. But Kevin, since you're a broker, you said we're going back to the olden days, right?
Yeah.
So you want to comment on that?
You guys don't realize, like back in the day when we had listed a house, it was 2 pages, front and back. That's all it was. So when buyer's agency came on the scene, everybody's hair was on fire. So, it's a change. We just got to get our head around it. And honestly, some of the things we're going to do, we should have been doing anyway. We've preached it for years. Well, now we're called on the carpet. So the change is here. We just got to embrace it.
What did you find when there wasn't buyer's agency? What did you tell me the other day? You're getting a lot more what? Both sides.
Yeah,
and
you got a lot of opportunity here. I mean, we have an opportunity here. You can come up on the top side of this. You have an opportunity to make more. I believe that. So, and I'll just say this, the change, it's here. So keep calm and carry on. We can do this. It's nothing to lose your mind over.
And I think when during the 90s, they didn't have buyer's agency comp, so it wasn't displayed on the buy side. So this isn't something that the industry's never been a part of before. We're just going, it's like everything in life, right? What's coming back in, like bell-bottom jeans and brass door handles, right? So like everything, things cycle back. So it's not something that hasn't participated in or been a part of real estate. The commercial end's always been this way, and this is the way it was 30 years ago with buyer's agency comp. We're just headed back to that. So you can't advertise it. One nice thing, and people always give Gary all this credit, and he deserves a lot of it. But now that we own our own technology, we can just through our agent websites, will just be a field of what we offer as buyer's agency comp, right? So if someone's going to find a Delia Group listing or anyone else's listing, they can just go right onto our command websites, agent websites. If you haven't seen lately, they're fantastic. I mean, they're absolutely fantastic and industry leading agent sites. Go on there and we'll just have a field for each one of these listings, and it'll just be a landing page that we put as a part of our notes for people to go and check out, and right there they'll be able to see it. Because I think one of the concerns, yeah, there's yours, listed for 300. One of the fears is now I got to field all these phone calls from buyer's agents. How much are you going to pay me? But if we have a mechanism to direct them to our website, that'll answer the question for everybody. And that's one of the nice things with our technology. I mean, literally, Chris Cox was on our call. And he's like, oh, we'll just add a field to command. Yeah, we'll start working on that today. And then boom, I don't know how long it's going to take, but not long, and it'll be right there. right? So that's nice.
So when
Um,
Joe said you can't advertise it in the MLS. You can advertise it
everywhere else. Everywhere
That's
else.
it. The MLS
Yeah,
won't
sorry if
have
I
it.
wasn't clear
You
on
can
that.
advertise it everywhere else.
Including your flyers. Go ahead. Yeah.
Do you think Zillow would just?
They can't. Zillow will not. No. Yeah, Zillow cannot.
So you can put it on showing time in the agent.
Maybe.
From what I've seen about that, because Showing Time is part of the MLS, it's a partner, so
Yeah.
that's why you might not be able to do it.
You might not. Yeah, that's still TBD.
What about sometimes I'll get additional information email when I go to do a showing.
Yeah. And that's a maybe also. Yeah. So we're gonna have to see. What?
Just this question.
Yeah.
So I'm sure we'll get more on that before July comes.
So if we're still paying buyer agent, how are we in compliance with the lawsuit?
Well, the lawsuit doesn't say you can't pay buyer's agents. It says you can't advertise it on the MLS.
The one question too that keeps coming up in my little real estate world with agents all over is, are we going to then be challenged with buyers going right to the listing agent then to work with the listing agent and pass over us as agents?
Yeah.
And how do you overcome that?
Well, I do think that will be more often. And I do think we may be back. Some of you remember the days of take one listing, get two buyers. We may be back to those
So
days.
what I'm hearing you say is, go get the listing.
Oh yeah.
I couldn't. If everyone wants to say it 3 times over and over, yeah. Go get the listings. Yeah. List to last and buy exclusive buyer's agency agreements. Take the value squared class on how to justify your buyer's agent comp if you are going to be on the buy side. And go ahead, Gwen.
So they also have to add a concession field to the MLS. So my understanding is we're going to be able to say 3% concession.
You cannot specify that it's for commission.
Correct. But
Yeah.
you can say a 3%
Yeah.
concession.
Yes. Yeah.
Also, VA right now is illegal to pay their own buyer agency. So look for changes to come down the road.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But to answer at the gist, like, yes, listing agents are going to receive more phone calls now. I mean, it's just the way it's going to go. And if that doesn't mean as a buyer's agent your world's ending, that's not it at all. It's just if you're going to wake up every day and decide whether you're going to call buyers or sellers, maybe call more sellers, than buyers, right?
So for listing agents who their sellers are not willing to pay the buyer agent, are you okay with 3%? Because you're going to be getting calls, you're going to be showing this house multiple times a day.
Yeah.
To me, I have to charge more because I'm going to put more work into it.
Well, and also you as a buyer agent need to show your value, which is in the value to class of expressing to your potential buyers that if you go with the listed side, you're not being represented. Most likely their job is to get the highest and best for their seller. So Mr. Buyer, wouldn't you want me to look out for you to make sure you're being taken care of and negotiated?
Yeah. We'll get prescriptive here at the end because I think there are some best practices for everybody to implement. So to your point, Lath, point number 3 in the email, offers of competitive compensation may be made off the MLS. Nothing in NAR's settlement prohibits sellers or listing agents from making offers of cooperative compensation to buyers off the MLS by email, newsletter, calls, text. Be aware all communication. Yeah, you can tell they had a class action lawsuit for TCPA. Before listing agents can offer compensation to buyer's agents, they must disclose and obtain seller's approval for any offers in I guess that's inconspicuous language that stands out and is clearly visible. We already do that. Our forms already do that. So we don't need to update the forms for that. Our forms already tell exactly what we're offering the other side on the list side, right? We can all mutually agree to that. MLS cannot require agents to accept offers of cooperative compensation as a condition to joining. So ours doesn't do that. Never has. Well, maybe you had to do a penny. I don't remember. Brokers can publish offers of cooperative compensation for their own listings on their own websites. We're solving that through the Command Agent websites, right? Agents must make commission disclosures. They must in listing agreements. We already take care of that. So fortunately for us and for the state of Michigan, we don't really have to change the way in which we do business from a forms perspective much. Well, our forms already cover all of this, right? Our exclusive covers it. Our listing agreement covers it. This is for everybody else who got us into this mess. That email needed to go out for. Okay, so getting prescriptive around best practices. we're gonna have to figure out all of our scripting, and I think Value Square does it around getting exclusive signed before showing. That's a drastic change in the business, right? If we took a time machine for TDG back to 2014, we always brought people into the office before we went and showed the house. We lost buyers as a result of that. We may need to circle back to that. We'll see, right?
I'd like to touch on that. So many of you may not know that. So I worked like 99% with buyers because if I got a listing, my wife is the guru when it comes to listings. So I would just hand it to her, knowing that my client would be taken care of more from my wife. So I've had a lot of thinking to do with this because obviously this is affecting the buyer's agent, which I mainly was when I was doing production. So I was already getting the disclosure regarding agency relationships signed before 99% of my showings. Every buyer presentation I did, it ended with, do you feel comfortable moving forward with me as your agent? Yes? Well, there's 2 forms that I'm gonna send to you. One's required by the state of Michigan that describes my relationship to you as a buyer's agent. The exclusive and the disclosure regarding agency relationships was sent out after every single buyer presentation that I did. And 99% of the time they signed it with no questions asked, and we were off seeing houses the next week. So what I would do and what I recommend is work on your buyer presentation, work on fitting that in, towards the end, making sure that they're comfortable with you, and then signing docs. It's really not that big of a deal. It's one extra document that you had to get signed previously.
Yeah.
That's it.
And if you need a buyer's presentation, go into Command. We just reviewed them yesterday. The listing presentation in Command's fantastic. The buyer's presentation in Command's fantastic. I mean, it's incredible marketing collateral that's been created on your behalf. R&D that, change it to whatever you need for yourself. But I'm telling you, go in there and check it out. It's under designs. Go ahead.
So with open houses, when buyers are walking in, is that?
I don't have a good answer for you.
No,
yet.
okay.
Yeah.
So Monday, there is going to be a Keller Williams International open house / town hall where they asked all leadership across the country to send in your questions and they're gonna answer them. The open house was one of the questions I sent in. So if you can be on that call Monday at noon, the link is on Facebook. They're gonna answer questions that have been submitted.
And this is gonna be recorded, correct?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, so bear with me here. So best practices, 1, get your buyer's presentation together here. In lack of anything else, use Commands. Actually, TDG's just gonna R&D both of those things, and that's what we're running with. 2, go to the Value Squared class. When's the next one?
26.
It's
26.
the
Next
slide.
Tuesday.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a
next,
slide on it.
Next slide. Okay, so you'll see it on the next slide. That Value Squared class is absolutely fantastic. The first one was great. Now that we have, did anyone go to it? That can,
Caught part of it.
huh?
I caught part of
Part
it.
of it.
It's awesome because it's
Caught all of
gonna
it.
run you through some levels of transitioning to this new method, but even how we offer our compensation, they do a great job. Jay did a great job of breaking down a menu, and we've talked about this before, but breaking down a menu of commission. He started at, hey, if you start at 7 with the full everything you're offering, and then just work backwards from there. But I think that's what we need to have if you have our head around.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think it's an easy sell, if you already know the person, but just getting a random call and then saying, hey, you need to sign this and you owe thousands of dollars, possibly, it's gonna scare a lot of people. So
Yeah.
I put some thought into it, and I was thinking that almost the first time we meet them, if we could do a 24-hour agency, so that way they don't get, scared or intimidated by it. So that way we can get to meet them in person the first time. Then we have the opportunity to show them what, we have to offer. Then we can get into the, the thorough buyer presentation, because I don't see the average consumer, when you're just taking a random phone call or an agent on my team, just saying, hey, sign this. And people are like, whoa, I just want to see the house. So I think that's like kind of a really good workaround. So if we could work on a 24-hour form, I think that we could be ahead of the curve.
Well, additional terms can put 24 hours in
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
From our
Also,
timeframe.
just to piggyback on what James saying, we are incredibly effective saying with buyers, great. Part of our interview process is that we take you out one time so that we can make sure that we click and we sign up for that. And then at the end of that, we say, are you comfortable with the way we show houses? Learn how to show a dang house. Don't say this is the kitchen. Like, you need to know what granite is versus, quartzite versus quartz. Like, show a house. That's your value proposition.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. So Value Squared, I think we're in business with a lot of really top agents, so we're gonna have best practices that matriculate down, and that's the advantage of being a part of KWRI. So we'll get it both on the local level and the national level in terms of that. So Value Squared class, look for updates on the forms, because we may need to add a couple more as a result of this, as a part of compliance. Look to get exclusive signed prior to the showing. Then I have one more. Oh, on the list side, to Leif's point, I think menu of services is always something that's been played around. We all have different ways in which we service on the list side and charge different things. I think we're gonna need to move from, for some of us here, we're gonna need to move from verbally displaying what our menu of services are into tangibly handing over a sheet of paper that says these are the choices, and this is as a result of if the transaction moves in this direction, this is what I charge. If the transaction moves in this direction, this is what I charge. There's always been menu of services, and to Kevin's point, the Value Square class, and being in Gary's mastermind the last 7 years, I know there's a lot of people that do menu of services, and they actually end up with a higher average commission than people who don't, right? Because their full package is 7, right? So I loved when the news said that 6 commissions are dead. I'm like, great, I can go to 7 or 8. Right?
So that'd be a good class to somebody to
I could teach that if you wanted.
Menu of services, yeah.
I use
So
it.
I can have people zoom in from across the country that do top things, people in the brokerage who do them, so you can get on the local perspective and the national perspective. But menu of services, one of those menus is if variable needs to be something that we choose consistently, because if you have a menu of services, the commission is variable, right? And so one of them is maybe if you represent the buyer and, well, you represent exclusively the seller and it's no agency with the buyer, it might be 5%, right? It might be 5%. I don't know about anyone here, I think you'd prefer 5 over 3, right? And that may lead to more people calling the listing agent. You may have a 7% package, and that's where you're doing staging and you're doing these different things. So menu of services on the list side, I think is gonna become more of the norm than not, right? So,
Can I
that's
say a
one
quick
thing.
something about that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Be careful about falling into that meme trap where it says, I'm an agent and I do this 105 things for you. That's cheap. Everybody does that. So the menu of services is what Joe's talking about, not professional photography, a transaction coordinator. Because what's backfiring on that is sellers are saying, I don't want professional photography, I'll use my iPhone. I'm not putting my name on an iPhone listing, I don't know about you,
Great,
but
that's 6.
don't itemize your value into those tasks. Don't fall into that trap.
Yeah, Q&A. Go ahead.
Is there any issue with being a transaction coordinator?
No.
Okay, great. The guy says, hey, I'll take myself around, I don't have a problem with that, but I don't wanna sign up for paying extra commission, but I'll pay you 1% to help me with my offers and do my contracts.
Where you're still gonna have an exclusive sign related to whatever comp you're
Right.
willing to take.
Right, okay,
Right. So now you might have an exclusive transaction coordinator.
Yeah.
You know, so, no, you can do that.
Doesn't make sense.
Huh? I know, but
Doesn't
I
make a
don't know
lot of
how it's
sense,
gonna work
but
out. You
I'm
can
gonna
still
wait
be a
another 5
transaction
months
coordinator.
to get everything together, so.
Yeah, and we
No
do have some
opinions.
time to put together, but you can still be a
In the meantime.
transaction coordinator,
yeah.
right? You just have to agree to it. What else?
I think the big thing that I'm hearing too is you're gonna have to be very careful, like, we're already some of us are getting both sides, you know, I don't know the percentage, but be careful with this, what's coming, then if we're gonna get more calls, which God bless us all for the realtors to answer their phone. So there's gonna be possibly that, I don't wanna say monopoly, but if you are the listing agent, you've gotta be careful then if you're representing both sides and presenting all offers fairly, showing a seller's net out on each offer, because, right, that could get us in trouble if all of a sudden, what's gonna happen if we keep getting both sides and then other agents, oh, did you present my offer, or like, so where's, you know, that
So
gonna.
never represent both sides. You're a listing agent.
Right, that's what I'm saying, you're
You
always.
don't need to
right, you're always a
represent
seller's
the
agent.
buyer.
Right,
So you're not doing both sides, you're just doing
well,
one
but I
side.
mean, you're,
Or is it the buyer
I was
doesn't have
saying
any
at the
money
end, you're
You're the
getting.
sub
to pay the
agent.
extra
It's all about,
agency and
The
it's all
buyer's
about
a
the
customer.
communication.
Yes,
That's,
the buyer is a customer, the client is a seller.
when I was doing all the
They still have
foreclosures, we had
fiduciary
that.
duty to the
Right.
seller.
We would have all the agents come in.
Well, not dual agency.
But if the
though,
person
but-
can't afford another situation, but they can afford your situation, then how are you?
Take no
doing
agency.
fiduciary
What does
duties
this have to do with agency?
It's gonna get tricky. Because if you have 5 people that call you and all want you to write an offer,
You're no agency.
Yeah,
You're
I'll
no
write all
agency.
five.
You write the contract to whatever
I'll
they
write
want
all
to write
five,
it
show
for.
it to the
You're a
seller, and
seller's
tell them
agent.
which one is the best.
Yeah, you're still the listing agent,
Mhm.
right? And you're no agency with the buyer. We've all had this option already, and it's been best practices.
We've been doing it forever.
Currently, like, there's no reason to have agency with the buy side of the transaction. I don't even know how people finesse that conversation. You went on the listing appointment, got hired because you were gonna represent them, and then now everything changes, and now you can't represent them? That doesn't make any
Yeah,
sense.
the only,
Right.
No
the only
agency with the
time
buyer.
you would is if you're already under contract with a buyer, you
Yeah.
take a listing that
Yeah.
they're.
And
not
my
interested
encouragement
in.
is if that scenario pops up, find someone else in the office, cut them a couple bucks, have them do it, and you're out of due diligence.
Did we do designated in our uncle's office?
Just quick, on that, on being a listing agent, correct me if I'm wrong with the lawsuit, but being a listing agent, you don't have to have an exclusive with the buyer to show them the house.
No, you don't.
Because you are
Well, no.
already,
Or you
I'm
do have to.
sorry, I missed that.
No,
What was
you
it?
do, any house you
Now you
show, you have to have some
I
documents
will
signed.
debate that, because I'm a listing agent.
Yeah.
I'm representing the seller,
Yeah,
and you call me, wanna see the house.
yeah,
I'm not obligated to sign an exclusive for you to see that house.
yeah, it might need to be a different form, you know what I mean, but something has to be
I think
signed.
that's-
Is that now you
I
just
would-
entered
I would-
into
I
it?
would
Yeah.
sign anything.
Yeah, we'll figure out that aspect once.
That
we
was a
get into
topic
it.
they were saying, which Gary's gonna,
Talk
Jason,
through.
open houses, at whoever comes to open your house, they're gonna have to sign now, possibly a buyer's agency agreement for your open house.
What if they have a buyer agency with somebody else?
I know, you have, that's gonna be like that.
Yeah, we'll figure it out, that's what I know.
So,
Yeah.
so just devil's advocate to that, and just to the whole thing, if this is supposed to be providing more transparency for the buyers and sellers, how is this more transparent?
I don't have a good answer for you.
If we're, I just feel like, because everything that I've been seeing and been bombarded with people asking me about it, and when I explain things to them, they go, but they're saying it's supposed to be more transparent. I'm going, take it up.
Well, it is in some areas.
Some
I think
areas.
most people going to social media, they're shooting themselves in the foot.
Absolutely.
They don't know what's going on, and they're just babbling there, trying to get more views, basically.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And we're kind of getting in the middle of it. I think the more false information, or not false, the more information that you don't know about that you're putting out there, you're making things more complicated.
Absolutely. Okay, that's what
Right.
I've been doing.
We don't know, we don't know.
Yeah.
And you're,
That's why.
oh, sorry, go.
Well, I have more of a commentary than a question, more to piggyback off of you, Joe. Because I've been thinking about this, and we don't know. Two things that come to mind: opportunity, or change equals opportunity. So, and people love working for Keller Williams, and so I've mentioned this to a couple of people. When pandemic came out, there was opportunity there, and
Hang on, Ryan.
I go back to thinking, people that invested in plexiglass, they made a killing during the pandemic, but people were panicking. So here, like I said, don't panic, but I see the opportunity. The MLS is the issue here, Keller Williams, and I'm guilty of this, is people go off market off the MLS. And I looked into our KW, where we put our coming soon listings, and went into that, and like, it's woefully scarce.
Yeah.
Right?
Say it
Is Josh Hepner the only one that puts it out there, So, so as we focus on listings, we put it there, we could negotiate off market. And as opportunity is there if we do that.
Yeah, and one of the changes we made is, some of you think you're the only person in the world that can enter listings into the MLS, so you wanna hold on to that. That's my control joke. So what we did is we updated the form where you can click, no, we don't want it entered for us, but we do want the visibility to the brokerage for our coming soon listings. So now you can submit that, and you know.
So, Joe, you also identified this, because you're a golfer like me, so.
Yeah, you are now.
There's the
I just
PGA
show up
Tour,
with the
but
funny
now,
outfits.
you guys that are golfers know about there's a live tour that's come on, and so other top golfers, the same with, people will leave the MLS and go to another inventory potential system, so you have different avenues there.
Yeah, and I agree with your don't panic sentiment, and realize this lawsuit is because paperwork in other areas wasn't as good as ours. I know I've already hit that a few times, but we're really not changing things all that much in terms of the way things operate. Now, what will shake out as a result, that's kind of Pandora's box. But you know, we already have all these things that we can pay. So our docs, we may need to add that commission, notice of buyer's agency commission.
I may even go to Kevin's forms class.
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
future.
Yeah.
He's considering it.
Kevin, your class is gonna be this big.
Yeah, there you go. Hey,
No,
we'll welcome it.
Something that you have current on the market when it does become that.
Yeah, they won't show what the listing comp or the buyer comp is.
Well, but I got my listing agreement with my seller at 6%.
Yeah.
Three.
You keep the whole thing.
Yeah, that, it's still 3 and 3.
You just don't display it.
It just doesn't show up on the MLS.
I honestly,
No.
I honestly see this flowing more business to those that are doing business, and those people that don't take time to personally educate themselves, sales, negotiations, and bring value, we're gonna see a washout.
Oh, yeah.
So more to the people that are actually doing business, and the people that part-time, yeah, I'll do it, no, I don't, they're gonna say, I don't know what's going on, and they're just gonna wash out.
Well, if we were, and I'll hit you next, Al, if we were all allowed to get together when COVID hit, which would have been a poor choice for us all to sit in this room together. Right, but if that was the case, we would have all had this same like angst feeling, right, around what's taking place. And then I can't speak for anyone else, I never made more money in my life, right? And so let no good crisis go to waste. Look for the opportunity that's available and maximize that. And I do think it's gonna be on the list side. Go and get as many listings as you possibly can, because you are gonna not double dip, but get what your commission that you're charging on your menu of services is when you have a buyer that's unrepresented, right? You hear my language through that, right? Go ahead, Al.
I just want to say I've been in the industry since '92 and been through a lot of changes. And each time people that were newer in the business, well, it's different this time. Well, it's different this time. Every change in our industry has led to the industry being better and the consumers having a better experience. Everyone, whether it was good or bad. This is just a tightening of what we should have been doing all along with buyer agency. That's all it is.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that. And I want you to realize this too, and this is gonna be not fear, but just it's like move into action. Every new agent that enters into the market from this point forward has no idea what it used to be. So they have the advantage over everybody who wants to wallow in what it was, right? And so realize every year there's a lot of people coming into the industry. They only know what today is. They only know what best practices for today are, and they really don't care that you had to press hard and give 7 copies, right? Like that stuff doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah,
It's a story of rotary phones and those sort of things, right? So the pre-internet phase. And that's great, and we love hearing story time, but we're doing business today, right? And all the new agents are gonna feel that exact way. It doesn't matter that you used to be able to see it on the MLS. How do I do business and win for my family today? Who else? Go ahead, Anthony.
If I could just say something, because I deal in the commercial space a lot, I know quite a few agents, this has never happened to me, but I know quite a few agents who are friends of mine who have lost out on huge commission checks because they never asked about buyer's agency compensation before doing a deal. You need to make sure that you have something, either a text message or an email or something from the listing agent in writing stating that what you're getting as a commission. Otherwise, you might show up, and it will probably happen here to a few people in the brokerage. You might show up at the closing table and not have a check for you.
It's not gonna be possible, because with our offer, it's going to be required that they include the commission form.
Okay.
So we're gonna be ahead of that. But before the showing, you definitely should ask that question.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
My biggest aha, and I said to you, stop wasting your time talking about all this with all these other agents that might be calling, just go get the listings, I told Joe, I had so many different agents calling, whether it be KW or friends of mine and lenders. I just said, sorry, I can't talk to you right now, I'm going out to get listings, because I can't talk about it, like, I'm gonna go to you, my leadership, that's it, like, just stop.
Yeah, get off the real estate forums. Like, if you want some of this, the most terrible information of all time, log on to Facebook and jump in those real
And there's a lot of people out there coaching, a lot of emails that will coach you through this, like, just go do your job.
Yeah, just go take those things. Go ahead, Steve.
I'm not sure about anybody else, but I see an amazing opportunity for recruiting right here. For a lot of brokers that don't have that information, and if people don't know where they're gonna go, you show them a light at the end of the tunnel, you might just get a lot of market share that way for you down the line.
And bear with me when I say this, and we were joking about the ALC meeting, there's gonna be a lot of people joining us as a result of what our technology can do for people at this point, and everybody joining us only knows what it is today and what it is moving into the future. No one knows it took years of opportunity for improvement to get to this point. right? And so people are literally joining for it now. Austin doesn't know that it used to stink. He only knows that it's great. You know what I mean? And he loves it, right? And people are joining for that today because I do think the recruiting opportunity, I do think owning our own technology, I think being able to adapt our technology to whatever's taking place with how this shakes out is a competitive advantage, right? It absolutely is. Go ahead, Ronnie.
Yeah, one of my buddies who works at Amen Realty, they had a meeting the other day, and I think that he was telling me that Amen's gonna start like marketing that he's gonna just start passing out flyers and stuff like that for like sellers to do like 2.5%, 3% only.
Yeah.
And they're gonna start marketing that so that
Yeah.
it's very important to like make that phone call prior to showing a house.
Tell them to
Because there's
shoot
gonna be a lot of
yourself in the
agents out
foot
there that
there.
won't
Exactly.
offer any compensation for the buyers.
What'd you say, like? He's shooting himself in the foot.
Yeah. I can't wait till they do that.
Yeah.
It's
I
gonna
mean,
be
that's
great.
what they have that kind of meeting.
Yeah.
So kind of
Well, that's what their brokerage is.
Yeah, it's like the saying, we're not worried about what our competitors charge, they know what they're worth.
There's a big spike
Yeah.
in Spire listings.
Well, there's always been that guy. That guy Ron downriver tried to go off the MLS and charge nothing, right? And Resume's always had that opportunity. So that's not a new model. That model's existed of all time, and it's failed over and over and over again. Maybe they're the one person in the history of real estate that'll pull it off, and God bless them.
I sold $400,000 offering $1 compensation, and my buyer paid my commission.
Yeah. So all these things are possible. Here's what I know. At the end of the day, best practices will shake out. The people who show up every day and put in the work will get the better end of it than the people who don't. And that's all you've got to worry about. Because you can't control the rest of the stuff. The more time we spend focused on things we can't control, the more we get anxiety. The more time we spend doing the things that we can't control, the better off we'll be. And I don't know. I can't speak for everyone else, and I mean this with as much love and respect. But when I look up and I see some of the people that are in this industry, we do need people to leave. So this should be a blessing for everybody who thinks the same thing. And if you're wondering what I'm talking about, maybe it's you. I don't know. Just kidding. Everyone in here is here for a reason, right? But we do need our numbers to shrink, right? We need the national numbers to shrink, and we need the people who show up as professionals. Because part of what got us into this situation are those people who shouldn't be here, right? And if they would have been talking through the listing agreements and talking through the exclusives and having buyers consultations and doing all the best practices, we wouldn't have been in this scenario as we are now. Does that make sense? So this is all good. It's going to shake out. It's like an enema, right? It's going to be an enema. Yes. Did anyone not get the email that wants it?
From KW?
What do you?
You got it.
Anyone want the printed version?
Or is that the whole version?
I'll take it. Yeah, I'll take a printed version.
Just take one down, pass it around.
Okay.
Yeah. So here's the email. This is what KWI sent out. In the value squared class, you want to click to that next slide? All right, is there any other questions or anyone need therapy?
So, okay, when I have buyers on one of my listings, I represent the seller and I haven't signed the agency disclosure.
Thank you. Yeah.
I haven't signed that before I even show them my listing.
Yeah.
Because we're supposed to disclose that.
Yeah, that's good.
That's what we need to do. Yeah.
Yeah, now you're just gonna add
Good luck to you. Get this room moving again. Who's got it?
Yeah, I'll answer that.
It's been unlucky.
Oh, they are?
Leave it there.
Oh, that's just Kathleen knows.
Leave it there. Just do the.
So Carolyn asked how to handle,
So I do that all the time now.
or Joanne, sorry, not Carolyn. Joanne asked,
Tell him he got enough.
Thank you, thanks, Susan.
you take them in. So Joanne asked what to do with first-time home buyers. Well, I'm not sure much is gonna change. So I guess we'll find out.
I think you do.
If Amin Realty goes to 0% comp on those, those people are gonna be in a tough spot. You might have to get it through concessions, right? So,
Yeah, that's my only.
Your time's up, Joe.
The weird thing is, the prices
There'll be more before
as
next
they
team
are
meeting.
include the commission, just
Right.
how it is. So now if they're saying, well, we still want our price, we're not gonna pay it out, now we're asking for concessions over what that price might be. It's just gonna be a little uphill battle. I
well,
think,
we've done concessions to cover commission historically.
Yeah.
It's just usually only been like 0.5%.
Yeah.
Now it might need to be more. I mean, that's
It'll
possible.
change 5 times before July anyways. We'll catch the rest next team meeting.
Yeah.
Is that when it?
How many times did people write escalation clauses? 2 and 3 times what our commission would be.
Yep.
It's not gonna be as big a deal as.
That's a
we
good
think.
point, Gwen.
Right.
That's a good point. 10% over to wherever it
Yeah.
was, you know what I mean? So 60,000 over asking.
30%.
All right, moving on. 0001950.
Oh my gosh, back to back.
That'll be funny.
Now you have to be on the tech committee. Where's Josh at? I was talking to him about it, wherever Hefner's at. Oh, I see it, he's out there.
Ryan, you know what Ryan's hoping for.
Dozen donuts, come on!
He wants a hug.
You built this wheel, it's weighted.
Wine.
I'll take that. That's a great
Oh,
weighted wheel.
right after that meeting.
Perfect.
All right,
You
next.
know who I'm drinking that with.
Yeah, what is it? Somebody put the batteries back in there?
Whether or not.
0001934.
Hey. Get a pen, I'm gonna write my ticket.
Thank you. Oh, free file. Nice. That's a good win.
$350 value right
That's a
there.
good win. I know, that's why I always look at you. Where does she stop me? 0001943. Man, that was just Ganesh.
This man
Here we
needs the
go.
TC service. This man
Yeah.
is lighting up the scoreboard.
Banner. Alright, Ryan got what he wanted. I did. Got my hug.
Just when you looked a little.
We're still crushing it, guys. You saw we did the Shamrocks, which we need to update. But listings are going up on the Shamrocks. Everyone that's taken, we'll do a drawing, and the winner will get something at the end. So, but yeah, I mean, keep doing what you're doing. And then, like Joe said, pretty soon we'll be able to cover this. Because there will only be a few left. So, go out, get your listings, and I know we touched on it, but use the coming soon. Throw your listings in there. We obviously see them. Everyone notices them, you know, on what's happening, and it's just when you double-side a deal with somebody from our own office. To me, it's always easier. It's easier working with somebody you know. You can be upfront and honest with them, and you know, see exactly what's going on. So get those in there. I was gonna say, I know you have something on this screen. I can tell. I was like, Joe's got something.
So this put us third in the state, Keller franchises. We finished number 1 last year. I'd like to finish number 1 again. This put us third year to date. So we've got some opportunity for improvement there. And for the first time in company history, we cleared $1 million in GCI in February, which I think is pretty incredible. I remember when we were part of the Metro office back in 16, we did like $1 million in June and we threw a big party. This brokerage is clearing $1 million in GCI in February, which is a 20% increase almost over last year. So you guys are making 20% more money in February of this year, which is great. And if we can keep that trend going into the future, I mean, I think everyone here appreciates the pay raise. So
keep it up. That's great.
Okay, real quick, I want to go over some command updates on the mobile app.
Can hear you.
On the mobile app, so I created this video. On the mobile app, you have this QR code that you can show to people. You can also scan someone else's QR code, and it goes right into your command. The other thing they added was repeating task filters. So if you go to your contacts and you want to set up a quarterly call, you can come in here and go to tasks and set that up for a weekly or monthly, yearly, custom. The other cool thing is the neighborhood stats. When you have someone attached to a neighborhood, you can log into their contact card, pull them up,
and scroll down to their neighborhoods. You hit that add remove button. It will pop up the neighborhoods that they have assigned to them, and those 3 little dots to the right where it says Creekside, you click that, and you can view it, because I wanted to show you. So it sends this neighborhood email. You can send it directly to a text message or email straight from your phone or whoever you want. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then the last thing, I'm showing you how you can text message it. And then the last thing is most active contacts on dashboard. So as people are using your website, it's going to show you who's most active, so you could reach out to them if they're on there often.
And I just want to give Emily a shout out if we're going to bucket fill. She's really pivoted into the tech side of this, and she's really killing it. So if you guys have any questions about command or the rest of it, she's a great resource for that.
Thanks,
Thank
Emily.
you.
Thank you.
As you give me credit for that. So there's a couple of free classes. So this one is Grow Your Profit with Commands Agent Referrals. You can register with that QR code. I am having a website class 101 on this next Thursday from 11 to 12 here in Rochester. Bring your laptop. We are going to work on editing your website together to create some cool things. And I'll post on Facebook some of the things that we'll be going over in that class so you can see what it looks like finished.
Are any of that stuff relevant for teens, or is this all like individual?
You're challenging me. I haven't dove into teams yet,
Okay.
but I think it's all the same, maybe. Some virtual classes that KWRI is putting on. I'll send out the slide deck too, so you don't, in case you don't get these QR codes.
Yeah, so the one I just wanted to touch on, the one Win with Sellers, which is June 5th and June 6th. So just to give you a background on Tammy, Tammy was Rookie of the Year her first year, stepped out of sales in 2014 to coach full time. MAPS Gold Coach, KWU Inspirational Master Faculty, co-coach a database mastery program, which is never-ending referrals, and she's a Quantum Leap instructor trained by Gary. Great class to catch on the 5th and the 6th of June.
So if you scan this QR code, you can get the Vision Speech deck, the slides. I also send it out in an email if you didn't get that email, or the QR code.
I'll just touch on this. I mean, Gary always talks about being the economist of choice for your client database. So really go into that slide deck and understand what's taking place and have it printed in front of you. Go back, watch the vision speech as he's talking through it to really understand what's happening from a macroeconomic perspective, because then you're able to articulate it. Because if you're the agent who says, "Oh, hey Michael, how's the market?" and you're like, "It's good," right? Like you're just everybody else, right? When you can say, "Well, inventory is down 30%, leading to da 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 da," right? They're like, "Oh," they don't even really understand what you're talking about. They just know what the hell you're talking about. They're like, "That guy knows," right? So. Really go into the slide deck and really understand it. And for you, I can't speak for anyone else, but I feel like there's financial uncertainty going on in the industry as a whole. Like, don't you, for yourself and reassurance, want to understand what's going on a macroeconomics perspective?
Hey Ryan, I thought you were going to have some we had panel people from Family Reunion before. Was there going to be a panel?
Oh, I thought you were. Yeah, well, yeah, that's exactly what this is. So we're gonna do takeaways from Family Reunion. So yeah, I mean, I'm gonna start with you, Austin, since you just joined us, went to Family Reunion. What were some big takeaways that you had from Family Reunion?
I'll say one of the big ones I got, I guess, was from the Tony Robbins one. And the big thing there was something he said was about your like emotional state. Like it's you gotta put yourself in a state of basically
change your state. That's
Change
what he
state,
always
yeah.
said.
Change
Change
state,
your
like he was
state.
saying, is if you're excited and you're ready, to go out there, meet clients, you change how I'm terrible at public speaking. Sorry guys.
I just Mel Robbins you, by the way.
Exactly. That says like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, right? The state that you're in is what's going to allow you to go ahead and move forward. So if you're in a state of, oh, this is going to suck, I don't want to make these calls, I don't want to go out and you know, I just meet clients today, or I don't feel well, I don't want to do this. Like, you're attracting nothing but negative energy, and you're not going to get anything done. So if you set high expectations for yourself in terms of moving forward, like, I will make, you know, I'll make these calls, I will go ahead and push past, you know, what I'm comfortable doing, you'll have more of that energy, and you know, good is more likely to come your way.
What you focus on, you feel.
Yeah, exactly.
And one of the big things
Full
around
right
it is,
there.
if you get into motion, one of the biggest cures for depression is actually working out. Like it's been proven over and over and over again. So if you can get up and get going and pull, you know, between what Tony said and what Mel Robbins said, what the Robbins people said, if you can get up and get moving, you will pull yourself out of whatever funk you're in. Right, so working out is one of the greatest antidepressants that you can have, and getting into motion causes emotion. So if you find yourself in kind of a sedentary state, get moving, come show up in Troy, get on the treadmill desk, and start getting on the phone, right? Find a way to get into motion.
When did we get a treadmill desk at Troy?
Yeah.
It's been there. Been there.
And Joe, can I say something on that? And don't be afraid to reach out if you do have feelings of you're feeling worthless or in a, you know, where you're gonna go. Like, reach out to your ALC or somebody in here and have a conversation. That's what we're here for. We're here to help each other navigate through this. So you've got other people, like, just send a text or just, but do reach out.
Good.
Who else wants to share? Family reunion.
I went to one on ChatGPT and how do you utilize AI for your business. Super helpful as far as we all know to use it. It's there, it can help us. But what they did was actually break down the effectiveness on how to use it. So when you're talking to AI, and I used to do this, I used to treat it like a robot because it is one. So I tell it, hey, make me a paragraph. The house has 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, in Lake Orion schools, close to the highways. In 200 words, write me a summary of it. Boom, and it would do it. And I'd be like, okay, make it a little bit more friendly. Make it this or that. But they said the style and the tone that you ask it to do your tasks in is the most effective way to get it. So if you speak to it like yeah, if you speak to it like your assistant,
Treat it like you would like to be treated.
and then you ask it even to write things in a certain style or format, it helps it understand on another degree.
I mean, I've
I'm
used
just
it,
telling you it's effective.
and like, you know, like I would say, shorten this
Yeah.
or make it more descriptive. So
Yeah.
if I'm like, can you please shorten this for me? It's
So
gonna,
I think it was more like telling it how you want it to sound.
Oh,
When I'm
okay.
talking
I
sound
gotcha.
and tone.
Gotcha.
You don't have to be like, oh, thank you, praise you, ChatGPT. But a lot of times, the technicality of tone and style is what encompasses. So what he also said was, if I know we use the DISC, right, for personality. If you know your client is a certain this or that, you can tell it, write it in a format that would appeal to this type of person. And it understands that and it will do that.
That's cool.
So there's things like that that kind of help the quickness.
This hasn't been released yet, but they're actually building out a large language model, which is what ChatGPT is, within Command, which
Really?
is pretty cool. So you can be on one system for that.
Nice.
And their hope and anticipation, maybe not hope, but definitely anticipation, is that it'll become the leading AI for real estate because it'll have more real estate data and inputs into it than any other one.
It's already pretty helpful just in like writing your ads when you're going into your paid
Yeah,
ads. So
yeah.
like the
one in
AI
Command where you're saying
options are
GPT.
In Command.
in Command.
I didn't even know it was there yet.
Yeah.
so
They
thank
have
you for
AI in
And
there,
you
yeah.
can like keep changing it, like update it, and you can add a tone. Do you want it vibrant? Do you want it, you know, like this and that? And that will
That's cool.
we'll do that.
Sounds like you're putting on a class. All right, who else?
Yes, Tim, do it.
Mine was actually part of the ad. The Homes.com guy was on the stage. We were watching him go, and actually went and talked and had a meeting with him and with one of the people there. Anyways, your listings are yours. It's only you on there. And if you send your client's email onto the Homes.com app, they will add you. So every time they're on Homes.com, you show up as the agent of choice. So that's something I haven't seen in any kind of advertising platform, whether it's Zillow or whatever. It's actually your product and you're on their front and center. Even right now, you're already on their front and center. They're not trying to advertise and sell names to other agents. So it could be a good takeaway that I picked up. I picked up a few more people from one of my listings that way. But I'm actually sending my database, you gotta do one at a time, which kind of sucks. But people are linking in, every time they go on that website, they see my face. It's a huge difference from most advertising mediums I'm seeing.
Yeah, I met with them, Homes.com rep last week.
It was cheap.
I'm gonna give him 5-10 minutes at next team meeting to just show the agents what it does. 'Cause it was pretty cool, you know,
So much
especially
more
when it's
information,
compared to, you know, you compare it to Zillow, where your name is buried somewhere in the fine print of you being the listing agent. Even when you're scrolling through the website, the agent stays. So even though you're scrolling and changing pages, the agent who's listing the home is here on the side. So I tried getting him to give me pricing at a brokerage wide where we could use it. They don't have that available yet. So it's specific to average price point per listing and how many listings you take per year
And
is
who
where
owns
you're
them?
pricing.
CoStar.
CoStar owns there.
CoStar.
And if you ask any commercial agents, they're not a fan.
They're not.
Neither am I.
Gary wasn't a big fan.
Yeah.
No.
Gary said he had to pay for Tony and Mel somehow, so that's why we had to decide.
Yeah, he didn't seem excited about.
I remember
that.
sitting behind him
Yeah.
going, I don't think Gary likes this guy very
He
much.
said he had to figure out how to, they spent more money than ever bringing in those
Yeah.
speakers, and they had to figure out how to pay for it somehow. I think if you look at the KW search, you guys would be wildly impressed if you give it another look. What else?
Homes.com doesn't work with less on a lot. There's a bug that I'm working on.
Gotcha. Let
Homes.
me know when you figure it out.
Homes.com did a big. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're good. No, she was just saying there.
Homes.com did a big presentation about how they're putting more money that's ever been put towards advertising for Homes.com compared to Realtor, Zillow, all that. They're focusing on your listing, your lead. So if someone asks about your listing on Homes.com, it's going to come to you. They're opening up memberships.
Yes.
Right. They're opening up membership, but also now when we talk about going towards this transition, everything that's happening, people might be reaching out.
To the listing agent.
Yeah, and just in general, if they're really pushing, like he said, they're throwing, how much was it, like
It's $1
$100
billion
billion?
this year.
They're throwing $1 billion at it, and I know when I'm on YouTube, I see Homes.com now.
They're everywhere.
They're everywhere. So that's just a little synopsis of if you are thinking about putting money somewhere, they're throwing an ad campaign out that's gonna match.
Well, they've already passed Realtor.com.
They've already
I
passed
saw the
it.
graphic on that when he met with me. They've
Yeah.
already taken over Realtor.com,
Yeah.
and within a year, they feel they'll take over Zillow.
Yeah. So that's just something maybe to get in. I think it was like $500 a month, and you get so much exposure and all your leads or whatever.
$250.
Yeah.
Well, it depends on how many listings you took. last
Listing
year.
and average listing price is what they go off of. Yeah.
What else from Family
Vision speech is what I go for every year. I mean, that's one thing that I love watching these graphs. I know, call me a nerd, but I love these graphs. I
Nerd.
love how he present them. I love how he predict, and I love how he shows the trend. So if you are skeptic about going to family reunion, go for that one day just to watch the the vision speech. That's a good thing to have.
I just want to put this out there too. Like, there's a lot of people in this room that have been to a lot of family reunions. Where would you say this one ranked in terms of historic? If you had to stack rank them.
I think that was one of the top, probably three for me.
Top three. What do you think, Steve?
I mean, the first one I wanted always the best one. Cause,
And I got free referrals out of people I talked to when I was there, though.
That's right.
Steve paid for his trip.
I did.
And you're gambling that night
Yes,
together.
yes, we
us
did.
two.
And you're gambling.
And the buffet was great, by the way.
Yeah.
The buffet was
What about you,
great.
Al? Would you say it was way up there?
I would say, yeah, it was a top three. I had the opportunity to hit a bunch of breakouts, which was great. What was different on this one was the panel that they had on the breakouts. Typically, everybody would be kind of in line with the same thing. And the panels that I went to, one person would say, I do it this way, and the other person would say, well, no, actually, I do it this way. So you got a bunch of different ways with it. My favorite breakout the one takeaway that I took from it was this person, when they list homes, they don't have a marketing plan. They brand the home. They brand each individual home is how they do it. And they even have like a branding box that each person gets that has smelly good stuff and, you know, all kinds of cheap things. And I thought that was a great spin on it to brand your listings.
Do we miss anyone?
Oh,
You?
yep. It's always great, you know, you go there and I've never seen Tony Robbins before, so I wasn't a big rah-rah guy, to be honest, but it was really good. And, you know, it's really your state of mind, you know, where your mindset is. So it's always good, and you come back from that kind of reset. But the biggest one or the best one I went to was, his name was Rory Bader, I think was his name. And he talked about media post, and, you know, so many, we see in their industry, some people make it a full-time career doing what they do out there. You don't need to do that. And he broke it down, which is just a real practical, just something you do once a week, and you can hit all the major sites. So for me, that was a huge, I need to up my game there. So I come away with a lot of big takeaways on that. So
Did you get any good notes from that class?
I can get you the book, and I can talk to you about that.
Yeah, I wasn't able
I'm not
to
a
get to
great
that
note
one.
taker, but yeah, it was awesome though. It was really good stuff.
Okay.
Joe, I'll speak real quick about the, I guess the people that haven't attended events. You know, years ago I wondered why the heck would I take 4 days off, spend thousands of dollars and travel to go to an event. If you're one of those folks, there's two main reasons we do those. Not only is it great to step away from your business, but the main purposes are the content. You heard breakouts. You bring that content back, you implement one idea, and it more than pays for itself. Or the people, right? It's the content and the people. We meet people, and lo and behold, you meet someone from, I met a guy in New York and a guy in Cincinnati, already have referrals from them. I've never done business from Cincinnati or from New York. I went to this event, sat in the right seat, talked to the right people, and 2 new transactions that are gonna pay for 3 times what I spent to go down there and learn and meet all these great people. So if you're wondering how and why would I do that, it more than pays for itself. Don't be shy, just grab one of us, and happy to take care of the next opportunity. And Mega Camp is what, August? So we got another opportunity coming.
I think it might be one of our greatest attraction opportunities for Mega Camp coming up also, because there's gonna be a lot of people looking for leadership. So I think we can fill in that gap for them.
Austin's fun to hang out too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, especially in August.
Just ruined it.
I
Don't
gotta-
tell 'em where.
Right. Go ahead, Jacob.
I got a real quick story, not to keep everyone, but I think it has a really good lesson in it. And it was the morning of registration. The line was longer than you could have imagined. I mean, probably half a mile. And I'm thinking, there's no way that I'm making it to my first breakout, which was the EAI, which was the most important one to me. So I said, you guys stay here. I'm just going to see how long this thing goes. I'm walking, one turn further, one turn further, one turn further. I'm like, it took me probably 7 minutes to walk to the front of this line. And I'm thinking, there's no way we're going to make this. So I'm standing there, I'm thinking, well, I'm at the front now, so I'm just going to get in. So I went to this guy and I said, hey, I know this isn't the right thing to do, but would you mind if I step in with you? And everyone's talking with themselves. He goes, I don't know, man. I go, what do you say? And he says, well, you got 20 bucks? And I was like, the tables cleaned me out last night, man. I show him, I don't have 20. He goes, well, I can't let you in. I said, is that really the difference, make it 20 bucks to let me in or not? So we kind of went back and forth. I was picking at him. And then he was an older guy, and then it got into, well, you know what life's about is we got up early and we got here in spot, in our line, and we were planned and prepared to get in so we could get to our sessions. Would that be fair? I said, look, okay, I understand. You weren't the right guy to ask. So I turned to the 20-year-old couple behind him. I said, hey, guys, I know it's not the right thing. You mind if I step in? They go, yeah, we don't care. So when everyone else is waiting in line, sometimes you just got to be willing to ask strangers for what you need. And ask enough until you get the answer you're looking for.
Even if it's the wrong thing.
Even if it's I said, I need that information to bring back here. Yes.